black and orange Ferrari. And green flag flies, we're racing. The Acura gets a great start from behind. 3 wide up the inside. Closing in on him here through turn number 2. Big slide on corner entry.
Here's, that's a big aggressive dive up the inside there from the Lamborghini. Some bragging rights here, I think, between the two. Look at that slide up ahead from Simpson. That thing was totally sideways, but he was able to catch it.
Lead. Fantastic stuff here in the M Cup. Big chop by the 777 car off the nose of that. Saw the corner, didn't have overlap, and went right to the apex. Checkered flag, and Adam Youngblood will win the AM race in the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League and pick up a checkered flag, a wet one here at the Huntsville Ring. Jimmy Morgan. The CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League has taken on 4 of its 6 rounds. Kicking things off back in November was Bathurst at Mount Panorama, then Brands Hatch in Europe, then Suzuka in Japan, Monza in Italy, and now Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium before we head to our season finale next month at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer joined by DJ Clark for round 5 of the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. A fun winter series where friends and family of CrowdStrike AWS and SRO all come together to compete in Assetto Corsa Competizione. DJ, welcome back. This track is one of the European classics. Several miles, 7 kilometers of twists, turns, hills, and climbs, and one of the fastest, most flowing circuits in all of Europe. It just happens to be one of the most formidable as well.
Yeah, it certainly does. A very, very tricky track to try to get your way around, but plenty of overtaking opportunities, plenty of places to get it right, plenty of places to get it wrong. This is one that always presents a fantastic run here for all drivers involved.
And cars on track for our 40-minute race today between our Pro and M categories. We'll update you on points here in just a minute. But those were seen from earlier today, or I should say yesterday, in the simulator, because it is now about 4 in the morning here at Spa-Francorchamps here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. It is qualifying time. We haven't even hit 6 a.m. and cars are on the track now and getting set to run their fast laps to get them gridded for our 40-minute race. Drivers in the white, those are your Pro category drivers. Those in the red are your AM category drivers. And DJ, if there was not enough challenge in Spa itself, Spa at night is a whole different thing.
It certainly is. You're going to have your braking zones completely changed here by these drivers, by this course. It's going to be very, very difficult to get things right. You've got to absolutely be looking out the sides of your eyes and make sure you know where everything is. Especially keep an eye on those competitors around you, because not a lot of room for wiggle here for a lot of them.
This is reminiscent in some ways to the 24 Hours of Spa presented by CrowdStrike. There was a new logo revealed for the 2023 CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa just a couple of days ago. So some exciting things there as it relates to CrowdStrike and that famous race that happens every June that, of course, George Kurtz has competed in with CrowdStrike Racing the last handful of years. Excited for their 2023 efforts as well. And Martin Lassen on track right now in the 111. That is one of the Audis, and look at the manufacturer diversity. Audi, BMW, Bentley, Aston Martin, McLaren, Lexus, and Mercedes-AMG all in the top 10. One of the things that makes GT racing great.
Absolutely, and truly spectacular to be able to see that. I love the different makes and models of cars, and especially around such a long circuit like Spa here, where there are so many different parts of the track, so many different layout particularities as they run around. You're going to see these cars do better and do worse at different points on the track, and that's going to make things very interesting when we go racing.
It will. Here's a look at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, just over 7 kilometers here in Stavelot, Belgium. The run starts at La Source, DJ, and brings you down through Eau Rouge up to Radillon. Big compression before the Kemmel Straight that leads you to Les Combes. It is a fantastic lap. Sector 1, though, is almost all flat out.
Yeah, it really is. Even in these GT3 cars, the run from Eau Rouge up Radillon, that's going to be flat out. We may see a little bit of feathering as they get over there in some dirty air, but then we get into the twisty section. Sector 2, Les Combes, on the run down the hill through Bruxelles into No Name, the ever-tricky Pouhon corner, and down into campus. Very, very difficult to get right.
And the final sector, another very quick one, Stavelot leading into the long right-hand complex that brings you into Blanchimont, a fast left-hander that is basically flat out, maybe a lift if you need some confidence there. We're running a lower wing, and then you head up to the chicane to round out the lap. It'll take you about 2 minutes and 18 seconds when you're completely on it, but here in the, we might see a little bit quicker than that, 2:17, 2:16, depending on the pace of the drivers here tonight. It is going to be a big challenge here, especially in the dark. Your sight lines are significantly reduced, doing a lot of this by feel. As we've got drivers coming up on the timing and scoring now, let's go to our points standings. Coming into the day, the biggest battle is happening in the GT3 AM category. Vlad Dola and Bill Strobel only separated by 10 points, with Dola's advantage.
Yeah, certainly a very, very close running there. And of course, up at the pro field, it is Josh Staffen that is absolutely running away with it. But back down to that AM category, a very, very close battle. We saw it sort of flip-flop around last time out when we were at Monza. So that means that we could see Dola and Strobel changing around here once again. And
Strobel right now is actually a little bit quicker than Dola, so I'm sure we'll see those times come together as qualifying continues here. You mentioned Josh Staffen. Well, he was a little late to join the party today. He is on track now in the number 93. Different livery, different team chosen for Josh's weapon of choice today in that Acura NSX GT3 Evo. But Staffen has won basically everything so far, DJ, and the question just becomes, without a whole lot of practice time, do you think he can do the same?
Well, this is a track that most drivers really kind of know like the back of their hand. It's certainly one that you get a lot of practice on because there is plenty of room to be able to maneuver around here. And so I think this is going to be one that they are able to keep everything together, and I don't think that lack of practice is going to hurt Josh Staffen all that much.
Real slow entry here into the chicane, getting some distance, getting some time. Daniel Kavanaugh to the top of the board at a 2:19.2 in his Turner Motorsport BMW M4 GT3. Bill Clark currently second on the board, fastest of the pro category drivers. He's heading down the hill towards Eau Rouge right here, and Radion at the top here. This is a corner sequence that is as famous as the track itself, and perhaps even more famous. It's just Spa and Eau Rouge, those two words really across the world, you know exactly what everyone's talking about when they mention those two things.
Yeah, you really do. You know exactly what drivers mean when they mention that. Drivers and race fans alike, as now they come up the hill here into Les Combes, making through that tricky chicane. Now that's going to be an area on the track that we're going to be able to keep an eye out for these drivers. You're going to see some drivers sending a move down to the inside, but because it is a back and forth, it's going to be a little bit different, and you could see some drivers being able to fight back when push comes to shove.
Vlad Dola goes a little quicker than his championship rival, Bill Strobel, so they're right next to each other on the timing and scoring screen. A 2:21.7 for Vlad and a 2:22.2 for Bill Strobel. Strobel, though, trying to go a little bit quicker and get ahead of his championship rival. We only have one race left on the calendar, that being WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on March 18th. So Bill really is running out of time here. He's going to have to finish ahead of Vlad in likely both of those races, considering that Vlad has had so little trouble this season. The only real trouble being last time out at Monza with some crash damage.
Yeah, and he was able to recover from that relatively well and bring his way back forward, so hopefully Bill can be able to put in a good time here. Finds himself about 3 seconds off of pole position. Not going to be the best run there for him, but on the run now, down the hill, through Prud'Homme. That's a little bit of a cautious line for Bill. Not nearly pushing as hard as I think he could, but I think he's just trying to get good laps in here at this point.
Get some banker laps in and then go for it. Track limits around here is another challenge that everyone will have to contend with today. Stepping over the bounds of the white lines and the red and yellow curbing will get you in trouble if you do it too many times, and will invalidate your laps here in qualifying. So keep it in the bounds. In the race, you can get a little bit more aggressive with it. In a 40-minute race, you might be able to get away with it once or twice, but more than that, and you'll find yourself with a penalty, and that will immediately take you out of the running without a chance for something like a full course yellow or safety car or anything of the sort. Kavanaugh, by the way, goes quicker again at the top of the board at 2:18.9. He's actually coming down the hill and starting another lap, lap 4. Aaron Puckett and Bill Clark, second and third.
Second and third now as they go. Still not a lot of time here for some of these drivers to get themselves back out with as chilly as the track conditions are right now, and it being in the middle of the night. You're going to need probably a lap or two even to be able to get these tires up to full temperature and get them working in their maximum operating window. It's not going to be an easy feat for these drivers.
You mentioned the cool track temperatures. 17 degrees Celsius, which is what the track temp is just about 63 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a really cool racetrack, and it can be difficult to get temperature into the tires, and I think it's less of a concern here, at least in qualifying. You've got 10 minutes or 20 minutes to get some temperature in those tires for your fast lap. Biggest concern I have is in the race. You're going to have a lap behind the safety car to warm up your stuff, but you're going to have to hope your tires are hot and ready, because that first lap is a pretty critical time to have grip.
Yeah, it very much is, especially as we talked about the run through Eau Rouge and up into Radion. If your tires are not in an operating window there, you can find yourself just very slightly skidding across the asphalt, and that can be enough to be able to throw you off. And in such a high-speed section of the track, having a lack of grip, having a loss of grip is about the last thing that you want to have happen.
Up at the top of the board, it's 1.6 seconds between Kavanaugh and Aaron Puckett. And Bill Clark is about 3/10 behind that. Then it is Bill Clark, Rasmus Larsen, and Vlad Dola, the rest of the top five. Again, Dola, one of our AM leaders as far as the championship goes, and all three of the top three in the AM Championship are running BMW M4 GT3s, including Daniel Kavanaugh, who is third in the standings and first on the track, DJ. He's a long ways back from Vlad in terms of the points picture, but let's not count him out just yet. There's still time, and there's, especially with a win and some bad luck for Vlad, it's definitely not over yet.
Yeah, exactly, and this is certainly a track that can cause a little bit of that bad luck, as there you see Kavanaugh taking a tow back down into pit lane, relatively satisfied there with that top time of 2:18 or so. As we take a look a little bit farther back, Ryan Small right now in the Ferrari working his way around at that number 66. But this is a track that it really can bite you, and I think especially for the leaders up at the front of the field, they've got to watch out. Even if you've got a healthy, comfortable lead, this track can come back and send you something wicked.
It really can. The high speeds here, and there is some runoff to play with, but if you make a mistake or you get hit, especially in a place like Blanchimont, you see Ryan Small hit the apex curb. There's a big old concrete wall, and if you hit that, your day's over. So it can end as quick as it starts. That's something to keep in mind. Ryan Small running the Ferrari 488 GT3, the only Ferrari here in the field, and I'm actually surprised by that. The Ferrari is a particularly good choice for these fast-flowing racetracks. It's really well suited to these European style racetracks. I'm surprised more people haven't gone with that, but it seems like the BMW is a popular choice, and a handful of Aston Martins and McLarens as well, and even a quartet of Audis.
Yeah, and once again, I think it all comes down a little bit to just driver preference around here, because you kind of have your choice of sectors and where you want to be fast. That Ferrari devilishly quick through Sector 2 and Sector 3 through some of the fast corners, but doesn't necessarily have the highest top-end speed to be able to break away. Meanwhile, the McLaren known to be a pretty quick in a straight line. The mid-engine design there also going to help it rotate through some slower speed corners, so it'll be interesting to see how these each play themselves out here, and if we're going to see any sort of domination from one make or the other.
Yeah, again, there seems to be a pretty high concentration of BMWs and Audis towards the front, but who knows how things will race. And again, Josh Staffen has not yet logged a qualifying lap yet. He is on track and probably due to log a clean lap. But he will likely jump right to the top of the order. His best lap is a 2:19.885, and he's tracking a second better than that, which would put him on pole over Daniel Kavanaugh, is entering the final couple corners right now.
Yeah, and here he comes. Crucially, he was able to get a nice little draft off that BMW in front of him, but let's see what the 93 here of Staffen can do as he comes across the line right now, and to the surprise of nobody, up to the top of the charts.
By just about 0.3 of a second, Josh Staffen to provisional pole. Daniel Kavanaugh's back on track, and he knows that he's got to dethrone Josh Staffen, so he heads down the hill right now, trying to get that elusive pole away from the 93, and maybe give Josh a run for his money here.
Yeah, he'll be open to do that. I do think Josh was helped out pretty significantly by the draft going down some of the straightaways there by that BMW in front of him. So that could be something, as there you see that same BMW getting out of the way for Josh Staffen now that the lap was complete. But that could be something that Kavanaugh has to fight against a little bit here, but we will have to see. Brings his way right now through Lacombe, now through Malmedy. I always find this corner so tricky to get right. You want to ride it a little bit wider than it can actually take. Of course, down here into Purcell's as well.
Remember that Kavanaugh and Staffen are not competing directly in class for a championship or anything of the sort, but overall wins are certainly coveted, and to beat someone like Josh Staffen, who has won basically every race so far, that is something to consider. And when I say basically, I do mean all of them. But that was Bathurst, Brands Hatch, Suzuka, and Monza all started on pole and won from pole for that number 93. So anybody is looking for a way or an excuse to take down Josh Staffen. As far as the M wins go, Vlad Dola won at round 1 at Bathurst. It was Bill Strobel at round 2. And then Kavanaugh won round 3 and round 4. And it looks to be like he's got the car to beat potentially in round 5 as well.
Yeah, I think he may have the car to beat here, but we will have to wait and see, obviously. Kavanaugh looking good as now he comes down out of Stavelot right now, bringing the car here into the Blanchimont complex. We'll have to see if he's able to get a good run here. The Turner Motorsport liveried car coming down now. This is going to be crucial. If he's able to take Blanchimont very well, it'll be a good sign. Could have run that corner a little bit wider, let momentum carry out there a little bit, but still a good clean run through Blanchimont for Daniel Kavanaugh.
Yeah, he's a little down on his delta here, and he actually lifted pretty early heading into the chicane, so I wonder if he's setting up for another lap. Maybe he threw it away elsewhere, but across the line, that time through a 2:23.375. So now maybe another run here. He's got enough time to complete at least one more lap, maybe two. And up right now is Aaron Puckett, 0.6 up, and gains up to 4th place, 2:19.96 for the number 31. That's a pro class car right in behind Bill Clark.
Yes, it is. As now here is Alexandre Turtan working his way around. One of the drivers in the Lexus out here today, so giving that marquee its time in the sun as he now brings his way down through Blanchimont as well. That's a little bit more of the line that I would expect to see coming out of the corner right there, as you saw Turtan be able to take that, taking it all the way to those rumble strips, as now he gets on the winders here for bus stop.
Slowing it down, and again, the only driver in this Lexus RCF GT3. Cool looking car, cool sounding car, and Alexandru has been stuck to it since the beginning of the season. It seems to really blend well with this chassis. I don't think it's the best in terms of the balance of performance. I also don't think it's really all that bad. It's really well tuned actually for some of the circuits we've been to. This one might be a bit of a struggle for Alexandru down the list here in the AM standings, but given it all he's got, that time through a 2:22.872, but it was not a valid lap. Kavanaugh, by the way, is still running around basically even with his delta, so he still has the opportunity to pick up a 10th or two here in the last couple sectors.
All right, so he'll have to see if he's able to do it. Now, the BMW should be able to get a nice little draft here off of that Mercedes up in front of him. Looks like the Merc's going to get out of the way, doing the sportsman thing there to let the faster car on by, but nevertheless, still a very, very difficult run here as they go. Now Kavanaugh's just got a couple of corners here to go. How's that delta time looking, Kyle?
It's still about net even from where it was. The other thing that could have happened is could have invalidated the lap with an off-track excursion, but I think he's kept the tires within the bounds this time. And about 1:15 left, so he'll get another run at this here. 1/10 down on the delta. Losing some time here in the chicane. And loses a full second now by the time he gets up to the start-finish line. So that's a little slower. He might get one more go at this here, depending on how much time is in the cooldown. Bill Strobel is up in the green right now through Blanchimont in his CrowdStrike 888 BMW. And Kavanaugh up 2/10. Just went quicker than he had before. Nope, I'm sorry. I was looking at Bill Clark.
Well, Bill Clark able to get some good times down there, as well as we watch Daniel Cavanaugh coming up the ever-famous Eau Rouge and Radillon complex. Only about 35 seconds left to go here in qualifying before the checkered flag flies.
Bill Strobel launched above Rup Kumar up to 7th place. Rasmus Larsen is up 0.3 on his best lap here. He's headed into, is this Pujon here? Yes, it looks like it. So he's about halfway through a lap. Trying to jump up. 0.4 would not quite get him to Vlad Dola, so he needs a little bit more. Now he's up a half second. So coming back to the checkers, if Larson can keep this, he'll start inside the top 5 here for round 5.
Well, that's going to be a good mark to try to aim for here at this point. Oh, big wiggle for Larson, though, and that's going to send him off track.
Yeah, that'll kill that lap for him. Arup Kumar up a 10th right now. Where is he on track? He's headed down the Camel Straight toward Lake Home. And Christian Cords Anderson in another Acura NSX GT3 is up 0.2, and Mads Fabricus Schmidt is up 1.2 seconds in 16th. That would launch him pretty well clear of Christian Cords Anderson. Through Blanchemont, big dust cloud from someone up the road.
Yeah, lucky he was able to get through that. That can always be a little bit of a hair-raising moment. Now onto the binders, coming down into the bus stop chicane. We watch Mads Fabricus Schmidt working his way through here. Looks like a good line through there. Now gets onto the loud pedal, maybe a little bit of wheel spin before. Let's see what happens.
Wow, up to 11th, a 2:22.820. Big gain there for Mads in the McLaren. And Alexander Turtan, he's up half a second. That would be well enough to clear both Lassen and Fabricus Schmidt. So Turtan could almost get his way inside the top 10 with a half-second gain here.
Yeah, certainly could. A very, very good run here for Turtan. He's just got to keep it between the lines and keep focus. Some of the most perilous corners are in this third sector of the lap.
Up 0.7 now. Climbing up on the curbs here. Excellent line. Oh, a little wide there up on the curb, but he gathered it up pretty nicely. It's through Stav low and then back on throttle. Good sector there for Turtan in the number 88.
Very good sector. Now he's just got to keep it together here on the run through Paul Frere and down into Blanchemont. This is the moment where the driver can breathe a little bit. Just take a moment, make sure he knows exactly what he's going to do and line himself up here for this ever fearsome corner.
Whoa, a little bit of understeer on the turn in, but he lifted to get the weight on the nose. 0.8 up, 0.9 up on the brakes. Last 2 corners for Alexander Turtan with 45 seconds to spare. Can he start inside the front 5 rows? Throttles up out of turn number 17 and across the line, 10th for Turtan.
Good run there for Alexander, and that's going to be our last driver crossing over the line as we get ready to go racing.
That was a fun qualifying there at the end. A lot of drivers up on their times. But DJ, it's time to go racing now. 40 minutes, 2 classes, and who knows what's to happen here. In looking at La Source and that run down to Eau Rouge, it is a critical and perhaps the highest risk complex, and you get it right at the start of these races when you're packed up, paired up, 20 rows deep.
Yeah, you certainly do. It's very, very tricky. You don't want to be going too wide through there or it can really, really throw you off. You have got to be absolutely confident coming through the corners. You cannot let anything throw you offline.
So 24 drivers have joined us for the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League here this winter. Again, I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by DJ Clark. The racing season is almost upon us as the virtual season ends in March. Just prior to the end of our virtual season is the start of the SRO America season with GT America powered by AWS. That kicks off at the St. Petersburg Grand Prix circuit, and DJ, you'll be there.
I will indeed. Very much looking forward to it, to get another good season of SRO action kicked off and ready to go. It's going to be a fantastic time. If you are in the St. Pete area, please come on out and visit us.
And then not too long after that, in April, that's when the full season kicks off with Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, Pirelli GT4 America, and then, of course, TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. All 4 series, including GT America, powered by AWS, kick off at Sonoma in April. So make sure that you get tickets. You can find those at GT World Challenge America and their main website. Yourself Find yourself tickets. Head down to NOLA if you're there. There's an event down there in the spring as well. So all over the country. Sebring again in the fall, Indianapolis. It's going to be a good season. I can't wait. I also can't wait for the start of this one. Dark it is here at Spa-Francorchamps, and the LED running lights are on. And the field, again, 24 cars deep. This is a big moment. Everyone's lined up and we're getting set for a pace lap to get some very much needed temperature in the tires and brakes. 16 degrees C for this pace lap.
Yeah, and watch out for a lot of weaving on this opening lap, a lot of brake dragging, as it's going to be very, very crucial, as you said there, Kyle, not only to get these tires up to temperature, and you do that by doing a little bit of weaving back and forth, a little bit on and off of the brakes, but it's also getting the brakes fully up to temperature. That is going to be absolutely crucial here for these drivers. They have got to make sure that they do not have any problems in that regard, and watch for a lot of brake dragging as a way to make sure that they are set and good to go.
And the first corner, of course, leads you into La Source, and there's always going to be 2 and 3 wide, so paying attention to your spotter is going to be critical in this one. And I think for a lot of drivers, there's points on the line, but for some others, there's nothing on the line. They're just going for race wins, and those two things often clash, especially at a track where the slipstream is a factor. You can get locked into battles that you don't want to be in if you're a points leader just trying to get a clean day. And you got 3-4 other drivers that want the win that will take you 2-3 wide into Lake Home, DJ. You have to shake them and put them behind you early.
Yeah, you've got to just focus on your race, try to get rid of any of those distractions, and that includes those other drivers that may be hassling you. Look for us to talk about the big 1 second marker. That is going to be the effective draft range of these cars. If you're able to break away of a 1 second, then you're probably going to be safe from the draft. If you're under a second, watch out. That car can catch up to you.
Another look at the track map here for Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and again, Eau Rouge Radillon leading into the Kemmel Strait in Lake Home. That is a critical sector. So is the run from Blanchimont down to the last couple of corners there at turns 19 and 20. Great passing opportunities at the ends of all the long straights here. Even into Pouhon, you can make a pass, but you got to get it done before you get to the corner. Otherwise, you'll probably end up running out wide with everybody else. So cars are rolling now down through Eau Rouge. On the front row, it's going to be Josh Staffen in the number 93. Daniel Kavanaugh will line up alongside him in the front row. Row 2, Bill Clark in the number 24, and Aaron Puckett in the 31 lines up alongside him in his Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3. Vlad Dola, points leader in AM, lines up alongside Arup Kumar in 6th. Row 4, Rasmus Larsen and Martin Lassen in the 478 and 111. BMW and Audi in row 4. Row 5, Bill Strobel, runner-up in the AM Championship, trying to gain some points on Vlad Dola, starts 9th. Alexander Turtan starts 10th in the number 88 Lexus. Mason Octon in the number 204. Aston Martin starts 11th. Andy Edwards in a McLaren the 720S starts in 12th. Mads Verbeek Schmidt, another McLaren, starts 13th place alongside Christian Cords Anderson. Then Matt Gefeller and John W. line up in row number 8. Row 9 is Ryan Small, the number 666 Ferrari, and Simon Hem Peterson in the number 18 brings an Audi in 18th. Alex Aso in the 25 starts in 19th place alongside Declan Miranda in the number 26. Then Marion Coman in the 77 starts in 21st alongside Dante Lansnaster. Mark Warfield and Will Thomas bring up the rear of the field in row 12 in a pair of first-generation Mercedes AMG GT3s. That is your 24-car, 12-row grid as everyone heads down and towards Pouhon to get some temperature in the brakes. Hazards on the 93 there, DJ, and there's plenty of hazards on the racetrack, and the least of which is Josh Staffen.
Well, the least of which are any of the other cars, as we've already talked about, plenty of areas to get it wrong, get it caught out here today. And these drivers are going to have to be very, very careful, especially with these cool conditions. There you see Staffen weaving back and forth, doing everything that he can do to get heat into those tires, heat into those brakes, set everything up the way he needs it to be, as he is really and truly, I think, just wants to make sure that that car is in the operating window before we get started into this race. That's going to allow him to really leap off of the line and get a good getaway.
As far as weather is concerned, it is 17 degrees Celsius on the track and in the air. That is about 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Clear skies, even though you can't see it. It is a star-studded sky here in Belgium. That means that, for now at least, no rain on the way like there was at Monza. So we should have a nice dry race. Should be grippy once the tires are up to temperature. This cool surface and warm tire, it's going to be a very, very fast racetrack. The engines will make good power here with the dense air. So it's going to be a blast to watch. 40 minutes on the timer here. And this is round 5 of 6 in our 2023 CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League.
Yes, it is. There you see more of that signature weaving. Everybody getting to go such a long pace lap around here, Kyle. It really, really can kind of mess you up a little bit just how long you've got to wait as you get into your head a little bit, thinking about the different combinations and permutations that the start can begin off with. It certainly is a little bit of a hair-raising thing if you think about it.
It gives you a little extra time to get those butterflies, that's for sure. You don't really get a chance to just forget about them. Usually standing starts, you have butterflies for all about 10 seconds before you're launching. But in GT3 cars, we do rolling starts, and here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, nice long pace laps, which I like because I can get the temperature in my tires and brakes, but I'd be remiss if I didn't admit that it also gives you a little extra time to worry. And maybe you should, especially if you're Vlad Dola or Bill Strobel, who are locked in that AM championship. They just don't have a lot of time left to fight their fights. 2 rounds left, and both at formidable racetracks. This one in Belgium, and then WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in California. Field is doubled up, and we're getting set to go racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. 40 minutes on the clock as Josh Staffen brings the field down to the start-finish line. Now, are we starting here or starting down on the, we're going to start at the 24-hour start line, which is Rue La Source, and coming down through Eau Rouge, DJ, so that's going to make things extra spicy.
Yeah, it certainly is. You're going to get that green flag nearly right as you're crossing over into Start Eau Rouge. And I think for some of these drivers a little farther back down in the field, they may even find themselves boxed up into the source.
So, doubled up, 12 rows deep, the 5th round of 6 in the 2023 CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. Kyle Heyer and DJ Clark bringing you the action. 40 minutes on the clock. Josh Staffen, Daniel Kavanagh on the front row. Time to go racing here at Spa. Green flag flies, and we're racing at one of Europe's best.
Looks like a pretty clean run there for Staffen and the rest. Root Kumar trying to get a little bit aggressive, coming up in through Radion. But now we come into that big slipstream battle, nearly 3 wide, far back for 5th place.
Down the long Kemmel straight now, everyone building up speed and momentum. So far, so good. We've gotten everybody through at least Radion the first time. Big dive from the 111 car into the braking zone into Lake Holm. There's some bumping and grinding in the background. One of the McLarens got sent wide. That, I think, was Mads Fabricus-Schmidt in the number 37. Got some contact, but I don't see a lot of damage on that car. He'll continue.
He'll continue on. That McLaren certainly definitely getting pushed off there is now the Lexus of Turtan going to make the move down to the inside of Brussels, and that's going to be the run there. Turtan able to take away what is 11th place position.
Out front, it's Josh Staffen. He's already leading by about 10 car lengths over Daniel Kavanagh, so the battles won't be up front, at least in the short term. Riding on board with Christian Cords-Anderson, another one of the McLarens. Or excuse me, that's the Acura NSX GT3 Evo. He's got Edwards behind him in a McLaren, and Turtan ahead of him, along with Mads Fabricus-Schmidt, who just got passed by that 88 as you covered, DJ. But so far, single file, everyone playing ball nicely.
Yeah, everybody keeping everything nice and clean. I think they know that this is going to be a long race here for everyone, and so nobody really wanting to compromise or sacrifice their race this early on. Just a lot of good restraint being exhibited by all of the drivers, although I say that, Turtan really clobbers the curbs there coming through Stathlow.
Got to be cautious about that, especially on low tire pressures, that you don't get a puncture being aggressive on the ripple curbing. John W., by the way, running a Wright Motorsports livery, very similar to the one that we've seen with Jan Halen and Charlie Luck over on the Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS side of things, putting pressure on Edwards here into the chicane.
Yeah, trying to put a little bit of a pressure on that McLaren. And remember, this is all stacked up just a little bit from Cordes-Anderson's mistake that he made earlier on. So this could be a good opportunity for them to try to get themselves up a little bit forward here. If you're John W., if you are Edwards, could take advantage of others' misfortune.
Down the hill for the first time at speed, Josh Staffen's already through Radion and driving away. Behind them, though, Bill Clark and Aaron Puckett just 4/10 separates that grouping. And the further down you go, there's a couple other battles to keep our eyes on, but this one in particular, Puckett with a big run here, using that slipstream on the Kemmel straight to close in on Bill Clark in the Audi.
Yeah, trying to see if he's able to bring that gap down here a little bit. Not looking like it's going to close quite to the area that Aaron would like it to, but a little bit of a wide run for the Audi there coming off of Malmedy. Didn't look like it cost it too much time, but still, those little mistakes, running a little bit wide there through Brussels, you're going to notice those things if you're trailing in that number 31 machine, and you are going to keep note of it, and you're going to keep pushing.
Wonder how much the darkness has with everyone's aggression level. It's been pretty low so far. Everyone just kind of following in line, learning and feeling everything out. And we're probably going to just get to sunrise by the end of this race. So it's not like you're going to get full day to kind of acclimate yourself. You're going to have to get used to the darkness and start pushing forward. Martin Lassen now was being chased by Arup Kumar in the ST Racing car, but I think he's dropped a spot and now is trying to recover a little bit. Just up ahead of him is Bill Strobel in the 888.
Yeah, Strobel just trying to hold on here and keeping everything together. We ride on board with Arup Kumar. Little bit of a squirrely run there on the exit of campus, but able to keep everything underneath him. Again, you've just got to be careful about that. I think early on, that's just a little bit of nerves coming in for some of these drivers, trying to shake off a little bit of the rust, and we'll see less of those mistakes continuing as the race goes on and as tire heat and tire pressure continue to rise.
Track's not going to get any warmer, that's for sure. It's going to all come from the driver not overheating the tires, getting into that performance window where that Pirelli will stick to the road as efficiently as possible. Octon and Mads Fabrika-Schmidt, Christian Cords-Anderson, and Andy Edwards all locked together in this good battle. Even Matt Kefeller, who missed last round at Monza, is back in the show here in that grunting Bentley, that big British car that we didn't get to see at Monza.
Yeah, the big car here should be very, very good on some of the longer straight sections. I worry a little bit about the high-speed sector of Sector 2, and that'll be a little bit difficult to be able to get that car to be able to wheel its way through the corners potentially, but still doing a good job here is Gefeller, riding in 16th right now. Oh, big off in front. That's John W.
Yeah, John W. had a big slip-up through Eau Rouge, gathered it up, and now looking up the road, Christian Cords-Anderson being overtaken by Mads Fabrika-Schmidt to the inside. And that will be, you could get away with that once or twice, cutting the top there at Radeon, but you can't do that too many times as, man, Schmidt slammed the door shut on Cords-Anderson there.
Yeah, certainly did. He did not want that Acura to have any attempts to be able to come in and fight back on him. But, yeah, you're able to get away with that once or twice, cutting massive corners like that. But ACC will actually give you a definitive penalty if you cut it too many times. So you've got to be wary of that. And that's not something that race control can take away. That is controlled by the service itself.
Onto the brakes for Cords-Anderson, trying to catch back up to Mads Fabrika-Schmidt. Andy Edwards and another McLaren approaching behind, the LED strips glowing above the windows of that. I really enjoy that effect as see them close back together now, and it's McLaren, Acura, McLaren, 3 mid-engine supercars, all unique in their own right. But right now, Anderson a little off the apex here. That's going to give Edwards a run, but he almost gets in the gravel.
Yeah, he kind of had a little bit of target fixation there. I think he saw Anderson go a little bit wide, and he almost went along with him there at that point. But right now, we continue to follow on board. Looks like he's just losing a little bit of time, not really able to close up nearly as much as he would want to, and that's going to allow for Cordes-Anderson to slip off, even with a little bit of off track there in front between himself and Schmidt.
Yeah, he must be running a lot higher downforce because he was really losing ground in that particular section as Cordes-Anderson is way off down at the chicane. Overcooked that by a mile, and we'll have to give up some time to boot. But let's go back and have a look at that in particular. Watch how they leave the corner, and Cords-Anderson is going to draft the McLaren. He's going to drive away from Andy Edwards here, and I just have to imagine that Edwards is running a lot higher downforce configuration, and that drag was slowing him down significantly.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, he is going to get the advantage of the draft off in front of him, but not to that degree. And then you can obviously see him absolutely missing that final bus stop chicane. Able to get the car, thankfully, before it went off the wall there. That's a real possibility. If you blow that braking zone, I've seen it many a time, drivers going head on into the barriers.
I also wonder how low drag Christian Cords-Anderson must be. Look at him just drive right by the Bentley here on the Kemmel straight. So maybe it's a combination of Edwards being set up with a lot of downforce and Cords-Anderson not having a lot, which obviously would hurt his braking capability, at least in the initial application of the brake pedal. When you hit the brakes in these GT3 cars, it's a really heavy application initially. You're putting the pedal almost to the floor, and as you get to the corner, you're slowly peeling that brake pressure away as the downforce comes away and your braking capability also goes away. You're just balancing that edge all the way until the apex, and it can be real tricky to learn, but I think in Assetto Corsa Competizione, you can really lean on the ABS to help you accomplish that task.
Yeah, you certainly can. And the only flip of that is you don't want to lean too hard on the ABS, because what will happen is that it'll cut the braking, and you'll actually find your braking distance increased if you lean too hard on it. So you've got to find that fine line. Really and truly, that is the way to be able to maximize these cars. Get into what we like to call threshold braking, where you're able to keep everything on just to the limit of that car locking up.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is really the biggest advantage to the ABS is being able to easily brake while kind of in a transient cornering maneuver. Think turn one at Daytona, trying to slow down and get that thing stopped without locking up the brakes. It is really challenging to do that without ABS, but ABS is not an end-all be-all. Lean on it and you'll stop.
Yeah, very true. That is, I think, the perfect way to think about it, that you have to take into consideration. We continue to ride on board now with Andy Edwards, the number 21 machine, in 13th place, trying to close down on Schmidt up ahead of him. Starting to close down a little bit more here, although I think Andy would like to see that come down more if he had his own way.
Good battle here between two McLarens, very similar vehicles. But even though you're running the same car as the next guy up the road, it might not necessarily mean that you're going to have the exact same performance. It comes down to the tuning of the cars as well, how much air you've got. If you've got dive planes on the nose, where you've got tire pressure set, they're going to behave similarly in terms of your initial grunt out of corners when you're limited by traction. But other than that, they still could carry some pretty big differences. Look at the run Edwards gets here on Mads Schmidt.
Oh, that's a great one there for Andy Edwards. He's going to have a poke to the inside. I've got to imagine McLaren versus McLaren going down into Lake Combe. Who's going to be the latest of the late breakers? It looks like it's going to be Andy Edwards.
That was nicely done by Edwards there. Got on the brakes a little bit later, was able to complete the pass. Now Schmidt is going to have some pressure from behind in the form of John W. in the Porsche, who's bringing that number 45 Wright Motorsports car right up into the mix now as well. Look at Edwards running up a little bit wide, though, so it's not done between this group yet. This is a battle all for about 12th spot.
Yeah, this is going to continue on here as we plunge down right now through No Name Corner, or Speaker's Corner, or Jackie X. Pick your poison of whatever you want to call it there, as here comes John W. trying to take another look down to the inside. You talked about trying to outbrake into Puhan. Well, there we see an example of it.
Big sideways moment there. Here's a look at it as he came down the hill, and he's going to just catch the inside curb a little bit too much. Just kind of rode the curb up with the left side tires and had a big slide. Was able to catch it and drop a couple spots, but that could have been a whole lot worse. We really haven't, knock on wood, we haven't really seen any big impacts yet, DJ.
No, we really haven't. Everybody's been able to keep everything pretty much together here at this point, which has been impressive. I would have thought we would have had a little bit of bumping and banging given what we saw up through the rest of the field. But right now, everybody keeping clean, although we've got maybe a potential for a little bit of that action firing off right here.
Fabrice Schmidt dropping down behind Christian Cords-Anderson. We know how low drag this Acura is set up right now. Will it all go away here? Look at Mads Fabrice Schmidt breaks way early into the chicane, and it's going to bring Gefeller and John W. right back into the mix. This is a great fight for 12. It's been going on really for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, it certainly has, as we are about 12 minutes down here in this race, about 28 minutes left to go. Yeah, this battle just continuing to fire itself off with absolutely no end in sight. This is exactly what you expect and love to see when you go racing at Spa-Francorchamps.
And you could see the general light level coming up just a little bit. It's still dark, but The sun is just about to breach the horizon here shortly. We'll check back in on this battle in a little bit. This one up for second, though, might get interesting. It's Daniel Kavanaugh who's got it. Actually, I'm sorry, the battle for third. It's Bill Clark and Aaron Puckett. These two have been pretty much tit for tat really all day, and here they are just half a second apart.
Yeah, and I think here for Aaron Puckett, Aaron would like to be a little bit closer than they are right now. Just try to close it down a little bit more, see if they're able to put a little bit more pressure onto the back of Bill Clark. But for Bill, he just needs to focus on driving his own lines here and ignoring whatever he sees in that rearview mirror, that rearview camera. He has just got to focus on the road ahead of him and pay absolutely no attention to the 31.
Back to 15th place, Gefeller and John W. and Mads Fabricus-Schmidt. This continues to be one of the closest battles on the racetrack. Christian Cords Anderson has been able to put a gap on these guys. About 4/10 he's up on his best lap. But John W. and Gefeller, they just traded spots last sector, and that 45, if he can just keep it going the right direction, he's got a lot of speed.
Yeah, he's got a lot of speed underneath it. It's just a matter of keeping things clean here at this point. I think that's really what they've got to focus in on. So now as we continue to ride on board with John working down through the corner, a little bit of a mistake there from Gefeller up in front. That's going to be too narrow of a line into the first part of Fagnes.
Under the Total bridge there, and a little bit of a push there for the 45, and he slides, and contact with the concrete retaining wall.
And that's going to be a little bit of damage to the front end of that Porsche. Let's take a look here from outboard. You see him just get a little bit too wide. Rear tires spin up ever so slightly on that AstroTurf, and that's enough to send him right into that retaining wall.
Yeah, and he caught the opening in the Armco as well that made things even worse. As we go back up to Christian Cords Anderson, who's actually running down this guy. This is Mark Warfield in the Mercedes, who's down a couple of laps by this point. Dante Lansnasser, by the way, is in pit lane. And he's been in there for a little while, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but it's kind of dropped out of contention. But we can jump back up to a battle for 8th between Martin Lassen and Bill Strobel. Strobel runs 9th on track, and he's seeing his championship rival a long ways in the distance, DJ, and that's got to be a sinking feeling with only a couple rounds left.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see. And this to the point, as Strobel makes a little bit of contact there with Lassen coming down into Lacombe.
Sent him for a bit of a trip. And just up the road, we saw a similar issue with Arup Kumar and Rasmus Larsen. These guys also had a bit of a coming together into Lacombe, but Bill dropped back in behind Martin Lassen. Obviously didn't mean to get into the 111, but certainly there was some contact here. Here's another look at it.
I think this is just a classic example of missing the braking marker. You see the defensive line coming back onto it, just missing the braking there a little bit. It wasn't too much of a heavy thwack, just a little bit of a love tap. And I like the fact that you saw Strobel there could have gone on by, but did the gentlemanly thing, allowed for that Audi to stay in front.
Yeah, it was a gentlemanly thing to do, certainly. I think also what might have contributed to that a little bit is that he might not have been expecting Martin to come back onto the racing line, DJ. It's always a touchy topic when you go defensive, whether or not you can get back online. Typically, you're allowed one move, and it's typically before another driver makes a move on you. If you move back to the racing line, some organizations will count that as a move against you. So in that case, I think it was probably fair game there, but I think it caught Bill off guard, and that's probably why he was maybe attempting to outbrake along the outside there heading into Lacombe, and they just came together.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think that's exactly what happened, especially when you move back like that. Sometimes you actually get a little bit of a suction effect as the draft comes back into play. And Bill there being very careful about it. You saw him actually poking his nose down to the inside, making sure he wasn't going to be doing it. But almost contact there into the second part of the bus stop.
Yeah, I wanted to spook him there after being very kind to him on the entry to the bus stop, but away will Martin Lassen drive, and Alexander Turtan can be seen long in the distance there. Up front, though, it's still Josh Staffen leading the way. He's in Lacombe. Daniel Kavanaugh is just on the straight part of the Kemmel Straight, about a handful of seconds back. He is the leader in your AM category. Then it's Bill Clark, Aaron Puckett, and Vlad Dola, your leader in the AM championship. And behind, John W. is down a lap and in 22nd place. And again, he must have come in to service that car after the contact with the wall, because he is a long ways back, even further than where he would have come out after he recovered from that crash.
Yeah, he'll have to come back out now, as it did look like there was a little bit more damage there to him, and not entirely sure. It could have just been a little bit of suspension damage potentially. Obviously not any engine damage being accrued on that Porsche, with the front of it not containing an engine, as it were, so he was able to avoid that.
Well, Mads Fabricus-Schmidt has run Christian Kords-Andersen back down. He must have made a mistake the first half of the lap because he's about 7/10 off his prior lap, and Schmidt is closing in, and right behind is Matt Gefeller. So 3 of the 4 that were involved in that initial battle have kind of accordion back together, DJ, as I always say. And you know, if drivers are destined to be around each other, they're going to find a way.
Yeah, they certainly are going to find a way, and this is truly what you love when you're behind the wheel of the car. Yeah, it's great to go out and win the race, don't get me wrong, everybody wants to win, but what you come out of with a big smile on your face about, that's when you've got a really close battle between 2 competitors or 3 competitors where you are wheel to wheel the entire way. That is guaranteed to give a huge smile to any racing driver.
And you just hope that they can smile in the moment. Typically they're high stressed and just gritting their teeth as they try to get the passes done, and they're in the moment, but they can hopefully look back after, even after some minor frustrations, and go, man, that was fun. I think that's all. You see the 37 run wide on the exit of Stavlo, and Gefeller will take advantage of it and sneak on through. But my experience in Sims has always been, in the moment you're stressed out, you're mad, you're upset, and then after you're going, that was awesome, let's do it again.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it is. You may have to peel your knuckles off of your steering wheel, but after you've had about 3 seconds to compose yourself, you sit there and you go, okay, that was fun. When can I do it again?
Yeah, you get a similar rush. I mean, I'm you know, having been on track in the real world, not in a competitive context, but you get a similar rush of adrenaline when you get behind the wheel of a sim car in a battle. You don't necessarily get that on your own, but when you're in the heat of battle, especially with real world opponents from all over the world, there's something about that. The competitive gene comes out in you, and you really want to push and get the pass done. So let's go jump back up inside the top 10 to Martin Lassen and Bill Strobel, because these two continue to run nose to tail, and Strobel appears to be a little bit faster than Lassen. Ooh, and Lassen had a big moment there, DJ, so we could see a pass for position here.
Yes, they're indeed coming off a Malmedy. Looks like a good run here for Strobel. He's going to poke his nose to the inside, going down into Purcell's. Backs out of it, but that's going to be enough to force Lassen off wide. Picture perfect there from Bill Strobel. That's exactly how you elicit an error out of another driver.
Yeah, Lassen really on his back foot right now and tried to cross him over, but it's very difficult to do that in such a long, slow corner. Took a look in Pujon to try to spook Strobel back, but didn't work. We're past halfway now as Lassen uses all the road through Pujon. Now we'll see what his recovery skills look like if he can get back behind that BMW.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he's able to get his way back up behind. That little bit of an errant error there for Lassen will be enough to send him back, but this is going to be the moment that's going to decide how the rest of his race goes. If he's able to stick up behind in the draft here of Strobel, he'll be able to have an interesting one. If not, he may find himself running down through the order.
It is a sinking feeling also when you get past and then the driver just starts driving away again, and there's no one really that close behind you, and you just kind of end up in no man's land, driving further away from the guy behind you and not getting any closer to the guy in front, but that's part of it sometimes. And Strobel looks like, again, I think he's a little faster naturally, so he might be able to get away, but look at the dive on the brakes from the Audi.
Ooh, tried to get it going down into the corner, but didn't play itself out. And now he's going to have to try again, having lost a little bit of time as a result of that heavy braking.
And back to this battle, Christian Kords-Andersen, who lost a spot. Well, Mads Fabricus-Schmidt fell behind, as we noted earlier. Gefeller is the next driver to get up on the heels of Kords-Andersen. You can see the sun threatening to peak above the horizon in the backdrop behind the trees. But for 13th place, this battle is already hot.
That certainly is heating and continues to heat up through the rest of the field here as we watch on board. Gefeller trying to take a later apex down into La Source and get the run off the corner. Almost worked out there, but Kords-Andersen able to hold off just for now.
Spun the tires just a touch on exit. Heard the RPMs climb up there for a moment, and it was a little too much for the Bentley to handle. Through Eau Rouge and up into Radillon right now, 140 miles an hour plus. Good run there for the low drag Acura, but now with the slipstream, can that Bentley push that big body through the air you see him actually even lose ground. I think this Acura is just really trimmed out, and it's helping Christian. This is not a bad setup for a place like Spa, but it does make the car a little harder to handle in sections like this, like home.
Yeah, certainly does, and credit here where credit's due for that Acura driver to be able to keep everything underneath him. Cords Anderson doing a great job of that. As of right now, we check back in that Bentley for Gefeller. Trying to hold on here and just keep the pressure to the back of the Acura, and he's got to do two things at once here, Kyle. He's also got to be watching out for Schmidt behind him.
Yeah, Schmidt's actually recovering from his little slip, and Gefeller through Speaker's corner there did not get down to the apex, so he lost a little ground. And Mads is coming back with a little bit of a vengeance after having his own slip up a handful of laps to go. But look at the Bentley. It just corners so well through Pujon in particular. He's gained some ground back on Christian Cords Anderson, where we'd expect that Acura to be a little bit off the pace if it's as trimmed out as we expect.
Yeah, I would have expected that, but just fantastic driving there from behind the cockpit right now as they continue to follow through the Bentley. Themselves along here at this point. Gefeller just seeing if he's able to get a little bit of a better run. That's a slightly better exit off of Stavlo here at this point, as he's going to pull in, get the benefit of the draft. He's not going to be close enough to get a move down into Blanchimont, but he may just be able to get one going down into the bus stop.
Yeah, the draft is a challenging proposition for a car like this. If it was the other way around, it'd be very easy. That Bentley pokes an enormous hole in the air, almost like an air crater in relation to a hole, but a little bit of too much speed into the bus stop there and kind of slid the tires, and we'll lose some ground. I just think this Bentley, despite it being enormous, seems a little better in the mid-speed corners as compared to the Acura, the way that car's set up right now.
Yeah, that's the way it appears to be at this point, but again, that could just be a little bit of a result of tire wear as well, that they're losing a little bit of grip. There's so many factors there, but I do tend to agree with you that I think there is a little bit of setup coming into play between these different makes and models.
15 minutes to go, and this battle midfield has been the most exciting one thus far. As we look back forward, we find Josh Staffen quietly leading as he has all season. Daniel Kavanaugh, he has won the last 2 AM races, and he continues to lead this one as well. But Bill Clark in that 24, no, that's that is an out of position car. That's Coleman in the 77 behind him. Bill Clark is about 4 seconds clear of Aaron Puckett, so that battle has opened back up a little bit as Puckett now has some lap traffic to deal with.
Yeah, some lap traffic to deal with here at this point. You see him diving down to the inside there of that Sun Energy 1 Mercedes as they bring their way on through. I think that's Warfield, it's Will Thomas, that he was just able to make his way by there. Not entirely sure what happened to Thomas to find him down at the back of the field, but he is about 2 laps down here at this point.
Yeah, a little bit of nose damage on that car, so he must have had something go a little bit awry today to bring that 21 car down the order. Back to this battle again. It has just been persistent. Feller, Anderson, Schmidt. There are no other battles that are this close on track, and this is, again, you mentioned it earlier, you're going to get out of this car and just enjoy having been a part of this battle for an entire 40-minute race, or at least so far 25 minutes of it, locked in a battle between some drivers that have given you plenty of space.
Yeah, that's really and truly the thing here. It's drivers that are being good and respectful with one another, making sure that that space is respected, making sure that you're not having any crazy moves. As we jump on board here with Arup Kumar, as this is a little bit of a battle potentially. That's Vlad Dola up ahead, only about 5/10 of a second down the road. This could turn into something a little bit fun here.
It certainly could. These are 2 drivers that are in their respective class championship battles. Dola's leading it in the AM side of things, and Kumar is up in the mix on the pro side of things. And that Mercedes AMG is a little bit slow here through Lake Home as the sun comes over the horizon. Kumar pressuring Dola here for 5th overall.
Starting to build a little bit of that pressure. That's a lapped Mercedes that you see there behind them, so not going to be any problem from behind here for Arup Kumar. It's all about the road up ahead of him and just seeing what he's able to pull.
Both of them are down about a second on their lap, so a little bit compromised there perhaps by the lap car. But the slightest mistake from Dola could bring Kumar into the mix in that gorgeous looking ST Racing livery. Now, there was a recent announcement a handful of days ago, DJ, that ST Racing will be back with Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS this season. That's always exciting to have those beautiful ST Racing liveries adorning the field.
Yeah, some of my favorite liveries in the grid last year, so very, very excited to see them back, and excited to see Samantha bringing her team back into the fold. Not only is it a great livery, it's a great team, a really, really good group of folks there that put these BMWs out on the track.
And across the board in the Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS, lots of exciting new team entries, including some like RS1 that we saw step up from Pirelli GT4 America into the GT3 competition this season. So there's some pretty exciting things on the horizon in general with GT3 competition in SRO America, and the pack is going to be a formidable one. We've got some more Porsches joining the field. We've got Ferraris back. A little bit of everything this season. It's going to be a blast to watch, as always.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. And you mentioned there the new makes and models that are coming into the field here as we watch Arup Kumar starting to close down a little bit, 0.5 of a second, certainly getting dropped down here a little bit as they run. He's going to be getting a really, really nice draft here now. He's going to have to feather the throttle. He's close enough coming down Eau Rouge and up and over Radion that there's going to have to be a little bit of that throttle feathering, but able to keep it together well. We may see a run here going down into Lecombe.
About even car distance now, 3 car lengths, maybe down to 2 by the time they get into the braking zone. Kumar takes a look on the brakes a hair later, closes another half car length or so. Big curb usage here through Lecombe for the number 8, and he's right on top of Vladola. Yellow flags here at this sector. There must be some trouble afoot up the road. Whatever it has, it's cleared.
Well, that's going to be a big relief there, both to Vladola and to Kumar here at this point. This battle getting very, very close, under 2.5 of a second. Kumar having a little bit of a half-hearted look there down into no-name corner. That's not an area where you can get a pass done. You may see something here coming down into Blanchimont, though.
Big dive again from Kumar. He's using a little bit more racetrack than Dola. Although that time Dola got right out to the edge of the curbs. Look at Kumar tucked down to the apex, and here they go. Battle for 5th overall. 2 BMWs going at it.
Excuse me, that was Pouhon, not Blanchimont, but here comes around the outside, trying to make that work is Kumar. He's going to hold it through Fanyi. That's going to be a little bit of a close running now. They've got to make it down into campus. It's going to be a battle of the breakers through this fast sweeper, and it's going to be Arup Kumar that holds it out.
Look at the run, though. Dola, oh, he miffed it there on exit. He had a really good run and got loose, and now Kumar is going to stretch the legs on corner exit as they head to Blanchimont now. 10 minutes to go, and Dola's down a spot. And Bill Strobel, by the way, got past Lassen, so there's only one position. That's Rasmus Larsen between the 2 AM Championship competitors. So race isn't quite over yet. Look at Dola way out wide trying to get some time back.
Trying to do absolutely everything he can do to make that time back. I absolutely love that commitment there out of him to really push just absolutely as hard as he can to try to make everything work.
He got right to the rear bumper of Kumar again through the bus stop. Almost gave him a push, but couldn't quite bring himself to knock bumpers together, and he'll drop down a little bit. Also in the background, Alex Aso and Ryan Small in the 666 Ferrari. That was very dicey. This is Ferrari versus Audi into Pouhon.
Yeah, Ferrari versus Audi, trying to see what's going to shake itself out here. Ryan Small carries a little bit of a wide run there through Pouhon. That's going to cost him maybe about 1/10 of a second as they make their way now down. Again, the slow car in front. Not sure who that is. I think that actually may be Will Thomas there in that Sun Energy 1 Mercedes.
Yeah, you saw the white flags on the side of the track. That is not for the last lap. That is for a slow-moving vehicle. And you see Will Thomas in the backdrop has some significant nose damage, more than he had prior. And not exactly sure where he got most of it, but again, as he tried to make the right-hander, the car did not steer and kind of ended up in the runoff. So he must have had a much bigger issue somewhere else on track, but came to a stop or a very slow roll and will likely end his day, or at least that particular run, with that much damage, DJ. That's a big hit for a Mercedes.
Yeah, it certainly is, and there you can really, really see just how much damage he's got on the side of that car, or on the front of that car, rather. That is going to be very, very tough. Look at that. He's almost having to drive at a full 90-degree angle to try to keep that thing pointed the right way. The suspension has absolutely been hit hard there.
Yeah, that car has seen better days, and they'll just try to limp it back around to the pit lane at this stage. Christian Cords-Andersen, by the way, has Matt Gefeller still hot on his heels for now 12th place. Gefeller in that kind of army green Bentley, keeping the pressure on. And if there's some object that's going to take up your mirror, the Bentley is going to be it. Objects in mirror are bigger than they appear, and that is that Bentley Continental GT3.
And Bentleys in mirror are just big, I think is the way to describe it. They are a big hunk of machinery, but just brilliantly piloted here by Gefeller. As we take a look at Cordes-Andersen, that is the view from that rear camera as he just sees that big hunk of British machinery coming up behind him.
Actually see it even better here on the rear camera because this car is mid-engine. You don't have great rear visibility, so they put up an LCD display hanging from the windshield. And in the backdrop, you can see Matt Gefeller just waiting in the wings there. But what Cords-Andersen doesn't, or has the advantage on Gefeller, it seems like, is straightaway speed. Lower drag, lower downforce potentially, but he's putting some distance on the Bentley on the straightaways, which is not typically where you can put distance on a Bentley, but that time the slipstream is big enough for Gefeller to have a look to the inside.
Have a look to the inside, going down into the bus stop, able to get the big Bentley slowed down in time. Perfectly executed move Matt Gefeller up into P12.
That was well done. He used all the braking capability he had for one corner there and got by. But now the Acura, with its low drag configuration, might be able to run him back down by the time to get to Lake Home. Didn't get a great exit out of the source, but let's ride on board, DJ, and watch this gap close after ratting on. It's going to take a while to get this thing up to speed, but when it gets there, watch this gap close.
Yeah, it's going to come down very quick. Again, he's going to have to maybe feather the throttle a little bit coming up over the lip of Radeon, and that's going to be getting it wrong a little bit. Woo, that was close.
But here it is. He carried speed. He never lifted, and a huge head of steam, and Gefeller can't block it. Into Lake Home. Christian Cords-Andersen, they touch doors.
Banging doors coming down into the corner. Christian Cords-Andersen's going to back out of it there. I think maybe feeling a little bit bad for the contact that we just saw. That's going to allow for Gefeller to hold on to the lead for now, but this battle is nowhere near done quite yet.
Gefeller almost looped it, leaving the left-hand corner there, got it back under him. But I don't think we're quite done yet. The advantage now will be back to Bentley. I think it's better in this particular sector, Sector 2, which is the windiest sector. And this is not the place I'd think the Bentley would be advantageous typically, but the way Christian's got this car set up, he's got it really set up for the straightaways, and we're seeing that in action here. But Pujon in particular, this will be a struggle for this car. You see that Bentley pull away.
Yeah, you're going to see it pull away there a little bit, just having to breathe the throttle, brush the brakes a little bit there for that mid-engine Acura, and it did not play out the way that they wanted it to. The good news, though, is that Schmidt does look to be about 1.7, 1.8 seconds behind here at this point, so Mats Fabrika-Schmidt is running a little bit lower down in the order, and that's going to be good news for Cordes-Andersen, because that's just going to be something else that he's not going to have to worry about sneaking up from behind him.
While these drivers reignite their flame of a battle, Josh Staffen is into some traffic now, and I think he's headed back towards the start-finish line here short. No, he's heading to Pujon right now, about 4.5 minutes to go. And we should be getting about 2 laps left in this race, depending on where he picks up the start-finish line. But we're getting close to the end here, and Staffen again leads by 20 seconds. Big dive there on the lap traffic, and he has just been flawless from the get-go.
Yeah, Josh Staffen just doing what Josh Staffen does best, and that is absolutely dominating this race. He has been the talk of each and every town that we have gone into, and with a 22-second gap here at this point over Kavanaugh, certainly looks like he is on course to do it once again.
Kavanaugh, again, has run a very good race, just not good enough to beat out Josh Staffen, Bill Clark, Puckett, and Kumar, the rest of your top 5. Then it's Dola, Larson, and Bill Strobel, and I'm sure Strobel would love a run at Larson before the end of this race, but just is not close enough. It's a 6-second differential up to Rasmus in the number 478. He can just see him entering Pujon, but that's a long way away here at Spa.
Yeah, it's a very long way away, and even given how long this circuit is, still with about 3.5 minutes left to go, I think that's just going to be a little bit too late for him to try to close down in on here at this point. We check back in on the battle right now with Cordes-Andersen and the rest of those drivers in the number 42 Acura as they work their way through the bus stop right now.
Yeah, he got back by the Bentley again, so that Acura must have a big enough advantage somewhere to take advantage of Gefeller. I think Gefeller's been a little bit smoother with the driving as of late, and he's closing in on him again here in the middle sector, but it has not been a constant. Gordon Anderson has led some laps. Gefeller's led some laps. Big slip there for the Acura.
Yep, and there it is coming down through Pujon. We talked about how that was not going to be the preferred car going through that very, very quick left-hander, and there you saw it come out to play. And kudos to Matt Gefeller for recognizing that same problem on the previous lap and being able to take advantage.
And Mads Fabricus Schmidt trying to take advantage of these two battling, but he hasn't really been able to make up all that much ground on those two, even in the heat of battle. So 2 minutes and 16 seconds left. That means that next time we get to the stripe, it'll be 1 lap to go. And Staffen now heading into Pujon. So 2 laps left for the 93. Everyone else, ooh, one car way off in the background. Didn't see who that was. Trying to get a look.
That's Declan Miranda, I think. I'm not entirely sure what happened there to the number 26, but clearly having a little bit of a problem, and that's sending him off and around as we ride on board with your leader, Josh Staffen, who's coming up on a little bit more lap traffic.
And Dola and Larson, I think, are, no, here's a slide from the 478. This is big news for Strobel, but Larson was actually running down Dola, and you see Strobel in the backdrop there. It was about 7 seconds. Will that gap come down?
Maybe we'll have to see here. I don't know how much time necessarily Larson lost with that little bit of a bobble, but 7 seconds, the gap that we're holding, we should be able to know as soon as they cross over the next timing and scoring line. That should be our indication to be able to go when that is.
Yeah, interesting to note that Larson was running down Dola, but actually, interestingly enough, Dola's also 2 seconds off the pace, so he also had a bit of a slip up on this particular lap. White flag for Josh Staffen. Let's jump back, though, to Dola and Larson, because if these two tangle, it's the best case scenario for the 888 behind them.
Yes, it is, and you never want to be wishing ill of your competitors, but I guarantee you there's going to be a little bit part of Bill Strobel that's going to be hoping to see some kind of incident take place that he's going to be able to take full advantage of, as now they try to be able to see what they can do. Larson just pushing in behind Vlad Dola here at this point. That gap, by the way, lost about 2 seconds back to Strobel. It's now down to 5 seconds.
And if they're going to have one more lap also, so if Larson and Dola, if they tangle, Strobel could walk away with some very crucial points into WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in the U.S. to have a run at the AM Championship. And Dola, he knows after Monza that making mistakes, even if you can recover from them, is going to put you in a trouble spot. So I don't know if he can afford to tangle here with Larson, but this is for a podium spot in AM, 2nd place to be exact.
Well, I mean, this is where you are competing with every fiber of your being as a racing driver that tells you you want to win, 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 and this is where you've got to be thinking about that championship on the whole and how it's going to affect you long term. It's those two contradicting ideas in the head of Vlad Dola right now.
We're riding on for the final time for this pair and onto the Kemmel Straight. Larson pretty far back at this stage. I think he's not quite going to get there. Meanwhile, ASO and one car has just looped it. 2 cars have looped it. Trying to see who they were. Marion Coleman, I believe, is one of them. Let's go back and have a look. 77 and this other BMW in the mix. Go down in here, and then pow, they make contact going down to the apex, and 4 cars involved.
Just an absolute ping pong effect there going down into the corner, and you've got to say, that was one that had the writing on the wall just a little bit. That certainly looked like a corner where you're not going to be able to make 4 cars go into easily, and so those drivers not exactly having the best running there, but nevertheless, they will now find themselves having to regather. Not a lot of time here for Josh Staffen.
Josh Staffen comes out of the final corner. He has won the pro category race here at Spa-Francorchamps, round 5 of the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. Kavanaugh comes out of his final corner. AM class winner here at Spa, picks it up across the line in the number 94 BMW. Then Bill Clark and Aaron Puckett, just a couple seconds apart here. Clark is going to grab a podium overall and 2nd in pro, and Aaron Puckett will be your final driver on the podium in the pro category. Meanwhile, Vlad Dola and Rasmus Larsen, this is going to come down to the last couple corners. Who's second in the AM category here, DJ? Into the bus stop.
Here they go, as Larsen's going to have a look down around the outside, trying to see what he's able to do. Not able to get it done. He's going to have to look for the crossback here. There's a car stopped in front of him. Contact between the two.
And here comes Strobel. Championship points on the line. He's going to split the difference. They touch. They're banging doors to the start-finish line. And Larsen, oh man, that was tight. Dola gets there by just thousandths of a second over Strobel, and they come together. And it was 86 thousandths. Vlad Dola grabs a podium. Wow, we got to go back and look at that again, I think.
Yeah, we do. I'm not sure who that BMW was that was stopped in the middle of the circuit, but certainly not what you want to see there. And that really was what set up, I think, that spin from Vlad Dola.
Yeah, here's a look at it again. Here's Blanchimont and the run from Rasmus Larsen in that 478. We knew if they came together, it would be points on the line for Strobel, who's a long ways back, and they go into the braking zone here, and certainly Dola's driving defensively. The 478 gets up on the curbs, turns the 5 around, who gets trapped behind that other BMW, and then Strobel comes through the mix, and had he gotten clear there, had he gotten by the 5 without contact, he would have stolen that spot and made up some ground on Dola in the points. But critically, the 888 did not end up on podium, and that's going to be a bigger points advantage for Dola than it is for Strobel, DJ. And our championship is going to get even a little bit more spread out heading into WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, but we were feet from it going the other way around.
Yeah, we certainly were, and that just goes to show you 86 thousandths of a second after a 40-minute race. Absolutely remarkable stuff here at Spa-Francorchamps.
That was a wild one. Here is a look at your race results. Of course, it was Staffen at the top of the board in pro, but that does not tell the entire story. What an exciting end of the race at the very least, and some great battles, especially between Christian Kortz-Andersen, Mats Fabricas-Schmidt, and Matt Gefeller. Gefeller 11th, Kortz-Andersen 12th, and Mats Fabricas-Schmidt in 13th place. We'll look at the rest of the results here in just a moment, but great racing all around, DJ. Fun day at Spa here.
A fantastic run, and it's exactly the kind of never-stop action that you really come to expect from this circuit. There is a reason why it has existed and been loved for as many, many years as it has.
Now here's a look again. Staffen, Kavanaugh, Clark, your podium overall, but the pro podium was the 93, 24, and 31, and then in AM it was the 94, 478, and 5. Critically, Strobel was not able to get to this right before Dola, and he will drop a couple of points in the championship. And down the rest of the order, Turtan finishing where he started in 10th. And we didn't get to talk a whole lot about the rest of the field there, kind of in no man's land for the most part for some of them. But DJ, some great racing there around the top 10.
Yeah, some really fantastic racing up in the top 10. Well worth the price of admission, I've got to tell you.
I would say so. Our final race for the season is March 18th from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. DJ, it's the only American stop on our calendar, but you know as well as I that that's a great place for a season finale, especially with the corkscrew. As we talk about famous corners, corkscrew is up there as well.
Oh, it is. It is one of the most spectacular things to ever see. I highly recommend, if you haven't been able to see the corkscrew in person, go check it out, as it is something that will and truly be awe-inspiring to you. One of my favorite circuits in the entire world, not just in all of North America.
Well, the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League has not disappointed yet this season. One round left on March 18th at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Kyle Heyer and DJ Clark will see it out to the finish in our Pro and Am Championships. We'll see you next time here on the CrowdStrike Racing YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.